Welcome to Out of Bounds.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Out of Bounds. Casey Kendrick along with Tom Dorato. Coming up, we have got some comments from Coach Mike Gundy. We're going to hear some of that from his press conference. And also coming up, there's a lot of changes, Tom, from ESPN Plus to just things that are happening on campus. And we've got Mr. Kevin Klintworth coming up.
That is correct, Kevin. A visitor here on often basis, and we go to Kevin for the answers. We're going to start. This might be the first real post-game ESPN Plus discussion we've had. There's been some pushback, to say the least, but we're going to kind of get the ground floor nuts and bolts there. Maybe what they found out over the last couple of days, what he's heard. Maybe tell us everything he's heard, but how we're going forward, how it all became somewhat in stone for Oklahoma State. What's on the future? What's on the horizon, but we're going to get a post-game from Kevin here this time.
Yeah, we'll find out. I know there's been a lot of frustration. There's been some people who don't seem to mind, not a big deal. And, you know, I tell you, my take on it, though, I will say this, is that game, because of the rain delay and because of all the stoppages for ESPN Plus and radio, it seemed abnormally long. Not just long as in the time, but I felt like, Tom, we played two possessions. Each team have a possession, and we broke.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't a 2-minute break or two and a half minute. It was 3 minutes and 5 seconds.
Well, when you
3:10.
go 1 for 13 and third down, Kansas State's providing a lot of breaks.
They are, but you don't have the scoring, which usually you go to commercial break after score. But after you punt it, the other team gets the ball and you go, right? I mean, that's just – so anyway, we'll find out more about that coming up here in just a little bit. Let's get to Coach Gundy, and let's start with the fact that he wanted to he was asked about the mindset of Spencer Sanders. And, Tom, we talked about this going in, that this young man obviously – did a great job against Texas and hanging there, keeping his emotions in check. He did some really good things, and that was his first loss. So how was he going to respond? Obviously, they had a feel. They know who he is. They kind of idea if he's rattled or not. But nobody knows until you see it in person for the first time. Not even he would necessarily know how he's going to handle it. But it obviously handled Kansas State quite well.
He did, and he's just a fierce competitor who's not experienced many negatives in terms of being a quarterback as far as losses.
Sure.
So his learning curve there obviously is still there. I mean, he hadn't had to come back from many losses, going way back to maybe when he first started in Pop Warner ball.
Sure.
But that's all part and parcel of the maturity. That's all part and parcel of the growth factor. And he's got a great mentor. I mean, I know Sean Gleason is the offensive coordinator, but Mike Gundy understands the emotions of a quarterback because he was one. And I think you've seen a couple of occasions this year already where he comes to the sideline, Gundy walks over there, puts his arm on the shoulders. You know, you could just anticipate what he's saying, but you got to slow down. It's play by play. Wash this one, come back and get the next one. And I think you saw that a little bit against K-State.
Yeah, and in fact, Coach addressed the mentality and how Sanders kind of handled things.
Not really. He didn't throw the ball as well as he would have wanted to. For whatever reason, I don't know. If I knew, we would have put a plan in place prior to that. But he's still ultra competitive. He would like to run the football more. We're in somewhat of a preventative measure there to protect him as much as possible. And he just continues to get better at each game. He's going to make mistakes. You have to live with that when you have a young quarterback. But as long as he competes and has the work ethic and leadership that he's showing up to this point, he'll improve each game.
How was he seeing the field, Mike? Spencer, how's he seeing things?
About like a guy who's played in 5 games would see it. Further ahead than most kids, but obviously not like what Mason would see.
Well, and Coach also talked about the fact that he is progressing, and obviously he's progressing in a lot of ways. Could you compare it to asteroids, to Mrs. Pac-Man? No. Coach had his own comparison of the progression of Spencer Sanders.
Well, all the athletes at every position have ability to process information differently. Quarterback is unique. We've had quarterbacks that I'm trying to think. Mason started to get it about midway through his second year. You know, if you remember back with him, he would have some games he was really good, and then he'd have games we'd come in here and he didn't play very good. And that's kind of what you're talking about. I can vaguely remember going through things like that myself, and sometimes there's not really a reason why. Just things bother you, and then sometimes it's clear as day. But he's doing very well for where he is in his career. He's got a very bright future. Is he the finished product? By no means no at this point.
The more experience he gets, the better he'll see.
Yeah, just the more vision, just to, you know, anything else you do, the more you do something, you know, new video game comes out, and the more you play it, you're a lot better. I mean, it's really the same thing, same concept. Did you ever play Donkey Kong?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, like when you started on Donkey Kong, you could never get past the elevator lever. Well, yeah, Frog or Defender. But really, Donkey Kong's a better example because you know you had the barrels, and then you had the structure, and then the third level was the elevators, and that third jump you had to make to get up to get over. It took a while, but after you did it, you know, 50, 60 times, you could make that jump, and then you were set. You had a chance to set the high score. It's that jump. It was that jump. You know, the timing that you had to have.
At the elevators, yeah.
No, he's on the barrels. No, I'm joking. He's not on the barrels. The barrels is easy. That's the easy one, you know. That's where you. But anyway, we'll get off Donkey Kong. He's doing fine. He's on the structure now, and he's conquering that, and he's working to get to the elevators, and he's probably past the first jump. The second one's not as bad. The third one's the tough one.
Have you been playing Donkey Kong recently? This seems very vivid in your mind.
I do, yes, I do. I'm a closet Donkey Kong guy, so. Well, because when you compete with your, you don't have kids old enough, right? Well, my kids are old enough, and I can't compete with them in any of the games they play. So I have to try to get them to play Donkey Kong periodically because I'm pretty good at Donkey Kong.
Or both.
What's that?
Gage or Gunner or both?
Gunner doesn't even play video games anymore. It just Gage. Yeah, there used to be a Godfather's Pizza on Reno Avenue in Midwest City, and I'd ride my bike up there and play Donkey Kong all the time, set the high score.
Well, and Tom, you can see the progression of Spencer Sanders. I mean, he's had 4 starts under his belt. I mean, This is a guy that is still trying to figure some things out. Obviously, 5 starts, I guess. And he is a guy that is definitely, you see him getting more and more comfortable. But as you go along, Iowa State's going to do something a little different.
Sure.
TCU will do something a little different. Texas did something a little different. You have to experience those things. You do have to get reps to be able to understand and to recognize more readily what's happening out there.
Yeah, and only Gundy could bring up the Donkey Kong. I mean, that's a perfect illustration right there. But it is, and he's trying to get to the next level. But on every level, being a football guy, I'm telling you exactly what you know. But people are trying to take away things that you do well. So that means you've got to find another thing that you do well to offset that. And coaches can only help them so much. Film study can only help them so much. But what's Mike usually say in terms of Gundy? You're not even near where you need to be until you have 12, 13, 14 starts under your belt. Now, I'm not a great mathematician, but that would mean next year.
Yeah,
and so he's still making his way through the gauntlet, if you will. But I think overall the grades are really good. I mean, yeah, he has a stumble here or there, but he hasn't had many.
No, he's been good. Obviously, again, good enough to beat everybody but Texas, and nearly good enough there, and just got to continue to get better. It wasn't just his play, and it really wasn't his play necessarily in that game that caused the Cowboys to come up a little short. So let's move to the running back position. Tom, you look at Chuba Hubbard's numbers. He's going to clear 2,000 if he continues this incredible pace.
Stays healthy.
There's a lot to that. But, you know, at this point, in my opinion, you have to mention him in the Heisman category. Where you go, well, okay, is that even possible? Why would you say it? Well, he's a top 25 team, Power 5 guy who's running heads and tails above everybody else in the country. I know Tua is the front runner. I know you're going to have, Jalen Hurts is going to be in that conversation. Heck, Spencer Sanders may get in that conversation more easily because of the position. But as of right now, forget the bias. he's got to be in that conversation.
Well, you and I think, agree on this, and we talk about it all the time when Heisman comes up. It should be on your own merit. If you're the best player in the country and you're the best player that impacts your team the most, then you should be the Heisman winner. But we also know if you're the best player on the best team, then you're going to get the trophy. That's just the way it works. So where Oklahoma State goes from here will have a lot to do with this true conversation that we might have about Hubbard. But I agree with Mike Gundy on this thing too, and he throws it out. He says he doesn't have any reason to think it won't be this way. But we don't know Hubbard enough to say that he's going to stay healthy. We can't tell that. I mean, that's something that's out of our control. And will he stay humble? I mean, healthy and humble go together, and that equals progression. No reason to think he won't, but we don't know that for a fact. So as long as he continues along that line, I mean, at the end of the year, I mean, Hubbard's going to have the numbers, I would think, for sure. And he might be over here 4th or 5th, you know, how many of these guys are going to come to New York, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, if he doesn't, let's just say, if he does not get into the final 3, he has set the bar and he has put his name out there that he'll be mentioned, kind of like the Bolitnikov thing with Wallace. You're going to be mentioned every year that you're playing, I would think.
Here's Coach Gundy on that very topic.
Oh, sure. I think so. I think it's just comparable to numbers from the past. I mean, that's all we have to go on is I don't have any idea, but I'm gonna say they're gonna compare him to whoever won the last Heisman that was running the ball. What were his numbers? What was his numbers? Yards per carry, things like that. I would say that would be the direction they would go.
See that type of back that could do that?
I mean, he has been up to, if you ever go to horse races and you bet on a horse and he's winning and he's still, it's only halfway and you hear people yell, stop the race right now, I win. Well, if you stop the race right now, he's in good shape, but we got a long ways to go. He's got to stay hungry. He's got to stay humble, got to continue to work hard. That has not been an issue with him up to this point. So if he starts to read his press, think he's pretty good, back off in practice, he won't be as good. I don't think he'll do that. If he stays strong, if he stays humble, he'll do just fine.
Well, again, there's Coach's thoughts and a couple other quick thoughts from Coach. Let's talk to him about defense. This team obviously was very, very good the other day, played well. Sterling was extremely good in this game. I thought a lot of guys played well. Here's a couple of thoughts from Coach Gundy on the defensive side of the ball.
He processes information really good, thinks fast, and reacts. Very important in today's game. He plays a position where they can get their eyes violated, run pass. That's what people do now with the RPOs. You hear that term being used. He's come a long way. He's been a steady player for us, and he's a player of our game for our defense in the last game. Made some really good plays. Seems to be in the right spot most of the time. I'm excited about the improvement he's made in just 1 year. We talked about this at Oregon State about we had so many plays we couldn't get off the field. And we got off the field the other night. I think it was 1 of 13, and so defense plays 58 plays. If they convert 5 of 13, then you're going to be close to 80 plays. You'll be 75 plays or more. So you stop them on third down, you get off the field.
Welcome back, and again, good stuff there from Coach Gundy. One final thought. I've always thought that, there's a guy that from the athletic department makes a grand entrance. It's Kevin Klintworth. I mean, he knows how to come in with a gusto. That's
Do you know anybody in this building can fix that door? Because that door on a windy day can be lethal.
Hey, I don't need people who can point out problems. I need people who can fix problems. I know the door. Hey, final thought from Coach Gundy just a little bit. Obviously, this is a team that has they've struggled in the red zone. They settled for a lot of field goals, and it was enough because of the defensive effort against Kansas State. Was not enough against Texas, although a couple more field goals might have been really interesting to say the least. But having said that, this team has struggled in the red zone, and they know they've got to correct that.
Well, let's look at the glass half full here. You've got Amendola knocking here, who's really been perfect this year. Mm-hmm. If you got a guy who can come out and rescue that drive like he did 4 times, all right, it's not 7, but at least it's not a 0. So that's helping a little bit. But Gundy said it perfectly. We traded field goals for field goals with K-State. We traded field goals for touchdowns against Texas. That's never a good trade.
Yeah, and here's Coach Gundy, and really his direct quote, straight from the man.
We've been poor from the 15-yard line in, and that's one of the areas that we've talked about in the summer. The college game has changed a lot in the last couple of years, and it's so important to score and not kick field goals. Our plan at Texas wasn't very good. Our plan last week was good. We just didn't execute it. So we've got to find a happy medium. You're not going to be able to keep kicking field goals and win games in this league. You're eventually going to get outscored. That's just my guess. So we'll work to improve it, come up with the best plan possible, give our players the best chance, and see if we can execute.
Well, to kick field goals or not to kick field goals, the New Orleans Saints kicked 4 of them, and it was enough to beat Dallas.
I know,
and,
get that soapbox out.
So let me tell you that by that 4 seconds that didn't tick away on that final play. Okay, whatever. But nonetheless, I mean, again, that's kicking field goals is a thing that is.
Tear just got on your shirt.
It did. Get it? Yeah, don't get it in my beer though. Kicking field goals is not a bad thing. I mean, there are times when you have to be able to do it, but obviously you don't want to have to settle for that. The Cowboys know they're going to need more points than that, and it's going to be fun. We need to take a break. Come back. We're going to hear from Kevin Klintworth. We got Texas Tech to talk about. We got other things to get to. Some fall baseball, fall softball, soccer going on. There's a ton of other things. But we'll do that in just a little bit. Take a break. Tell us about our guest. More officially?
His name is Kevin Klintworth.
Yes.
He's Senior Associate Athletic Director at Oklahoma State. He's been a visitor here many, many times. And we're going to get into some current events like ESPN Plus.
And what many people said afterwards, it was an ESPN negative.
No. Well, there are some people.
Was it or wasn't it? I don't know. I don't know. We'll find out
Some
from
people
Kevin.
don't like anything.
Some people like to be clever. Let's take a quick break. Come back. We'll find out more about all of that good stuff coming up as we continue on Out of Bounds right after this.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts. The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold, creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
From pumpkins and parades to parties and performances, October is full of orange and America's friendliest college town.
What better way to see the beautiful Oklahoma State University campus in the city of Stillwater than by running 13.1 miles on Sunday, October 6th in the Stilly Half.
500 competitors come together at the Cowboy Stampede. Watch them rope, ride, and wrestle.
As the world turns orange.
We are so excited about the Harvest Carnival, Walk Around, and the Sea of Orange Parade.
Something you and I have done for a number of years on the radio.
With Broadway shows and internationally acclaimed symphonies, the McKnight Center for the Performing Arts at Oklahoma State University is a world-class facility opening this October.
Trick or treat with the downtown merchants, enjoy the carnival games, inflatables, and the costume contest at the annual Halloween Festival. Don't miss a beat in America's friendliest college town. Check out our full listing of events at visitstillwater.org.
Formal Fantasy in the heart of downtown Stillwater provides everything you need for your formal occasion. We have dresses, shoes, and jewelry to make you stand out on your special day. We offer tuxedo and suit rentals right here in Stillwater. Our staff of expert seamstresses will alter your clothing to fit perfectly, saving you from going from store to store to get everything you need for your event. From school dances to weddings, Formal Fantasy at 121 East 9th in downtown Stillwater is your formal store.
If you haven't been to TS Fork at White Barn Estates lately, we have an exciting new concept to tell you about. It's called Thirsty Thursdays, and it includes 4 courses of the same high-quality food as our other nights, and some of the best mixed drinks you've ever had. Best of all, no reservations are required. And while you're there, relax with a drink on our covered patio and check out the gift shop with Made in Oklahoma products. Go to tsfork.com for more details and to check out our upcoming special menus.
Frontier Lanes is Stillwater's favorite family entertainment destination. Open 7 days a week, Ernie and the crew offer 16 lanes of bowling, but that's just where the fun begins. Knock down the pins to the sounds of your favorite tunes with our jukebox. The game room features pinball, pool, and exciting arcade games. And with a full snack bar, you can satisfy your thirst and get some of the best burgers and fries in town. Frontier Lanes near Airport Road at 3524 North Washington. Call 372-8584 and be sure to ask them about booking your child's next birthday party.
It's back. Stillwater High School football returns to TV 31. Be sure to catch every home game as the Pioneers look to return to the championship game. Stillwater High School football is brought to you by our friends at Tiger Drug. Also by Freddie Paul's Steakhouse. By Bank First. Also by Formal Fantasy. The Houck Agency for all of your insurance and real estate needs. By McDonald's. By Martin, Jean, and Jackson. Also brought to you by Harrison Electric, Legacy Oil and Gas, by Wendell Stevens Shelter Insurance, by Gigabytes, and by Charlie's Discount Drug. Catch Stillwater High School football on TV 31 Fridays, also streaming on TV31.net. Replays convene Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook as well. Catch it right here on TV 31.
Well, as promised, joining us now, the Senior Associate Athletic Director for Communications, I think, if that's still your title, Kevin Klintworth. Kevin's been here many, many times. I wanted to bring Kevin on today for this week because this is really the first, full weekend of post-game analysis for ESPN+. We were on before, but this one here created a lot of angst here or there. What kind of reaction have you gotten 2 days later?
Mixed, for sure. But I will say this, Tom, we had people who were really pushing back on it before the game.
Yeah.
So you kind of knew going in that, thancfully, we won the game. I don't know what kind of reaction we would have had today. Yeah. It was a little bit of a mixed start for sure. I mean, there was the delay, which caused issues with ESPN. There's a little bit smaller production than what our fans are used to for a Big 12 game, and those things kind of add up and pile up, and we've had some people let us know that for sure.
I think the education of this process is going to have to be on the table as we go forward, because this isn't something that just fell out of the sky, right? I mean, this was on a conference level long before anybody knew about it.
I think we started filling out questionnaires for the league as far as our production capabilities, because that's a big part of not this past weekend, but big picture 2 years ago, a year ago, and then really started picking up speed last winter into the spring, and I think what's confused some folks, and obviously and honestly internally as well a little bit, is the fact that it was a place for our third tier events, and suddenly we had a Big 12 football game on ESPN Plus. A little bit surprised for us, a little bit of a surprise for us as well as everybody else. And so it was a sea change from what we had messaged all summer. We knew the McNeese State game was going to be our third tier institutional retained game. We do with what we want. That was part of the Big 12 network. When the K-State game got added, it was a surprise to us and a surprise to our fans, and understandably so, because that's not what we had told them. And so right off the bat, it was a little bit of a shaky start. And so
set the record straight. In the contract with the conference, ESPN, on that level, was there ever a line that said you're only going to be on once?
There was a line that said at least once, but at least once, which meant our institutional retained game. I will say this: I think the folks at the Big 12, and maybe even the folks at ESPN, were a little bit surprised that we had a conference game on. I think that came brainstorming a little bit. You remember, and I remember, when ESPN2 launched.
Yes.
And it was an extreme sports, X Games type of network. And the world wasn't ready for that. It wasn't being picked up by the systems at the time, dominated by cable systems, and they weren't being picked up. And you remember what they did? They put a Duke North Carolina men's basketball game on to get everybody to start getting ESPN2, and that sort of began the process. I actually had this conversation with Tim Allen, the Big 12, yesterday. So we understand the reasoning. We understand why it's happening. We feel bad that people are upset by it, but we really do think it's the foothold of something that's going to get bigger.
Now, that's what we're looking at.
And that's a company line,
right?
I know, but it really is.
That has to
the
be
rationale. Yeah.
That has to be what the talk was, and I don't know that you were on that level. Maybe it's Holder, but you might have been in on those original discussions on the conference level with ESPN. But let's face it. I've been there in your shoes. I know there's so many revenue streams that come to an athletic department, and conference cuts is a big revenue stream.
Sure.
So when all this was being put together, did the money override maybe somebody's opinion that, hey, I don't know if this can really be what we want to do?
Well, some of the conference meetings I was in, there was an AD meeting in April specifically about ESPN Plus, and I was Coach Holder's +1.
Okay.
I guess his wife was busy, and no.
Right.
So
That's good.
every AD got to bring a guest.
Robbie probably had playing golf.
Yeah, and so I went, and what I think was that there wasn't a market for a linear channel for the Big 12 right now, especially with the uncertainty you've seen with linear channels themselves dropping. Every piece of data that you have and every part of ESPN's business that they release to us that we know about shows that viewership for the linear channels are dropping and streaming is climbing. And so we had 4 schools whose third-tier TV rights were expiring at the same time. The Kansas schools, Oklahoma State and Baylor, and that became this first year with ESPN Plus. We know they're working out a lot of kinks with us. We have conference calls with them every Wednesday. It's nonstop communication with the league, with ESPN, with ourselves, and trying to make a go of something that maybe will grow into the eventual really Big 12 network. Whether that be digital or linear someday, I'm not sure. But we do feel like we're at the beginning of something that could be good, but there's lots of stops and starts and fits and goes and, things that you have to work through. And a lot of them are on campus level. We've changed our productions a little bit. If people have watched our soccer matches in the early part of the season, you've seen that it's very much a 50-50 show now, much more objective. We're not using OSU microphones. We're not wearing OSU polos. I mean, it's become more of something that looks like it would be seen on ESPN. Now, the football games, or all the football games are produced by ESPN. That's not an Orange Power Studios production at all. When we get into winter, we have a handful of games on the men's basketball side that are in Big 12 Plus now. Right. I'm sorry, it's Big 12 now on ESPN Plus. We have some of those we produce. A couple of them the Big 12 will produce. For any conference basketball games on the men's side, and I think we have 2. I think we have 3, but one of them's on the road, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes, you're right.
So those will be produced by ESPN, not Orange Power Studios. But really, the heart and soul of what Big 12 now is still a third-tier network. It's a home for Cowgirl soccer, Cowgirl softball, OSU baseball. Wrestling will be on there for the first time. We haven't really been in the wrestling
business. Which has to be, no pun intended, a real plus.
It is, and ESPN's pretty excited about it. I don't know if you've noticed, because he gets caught up in March Madness on the basketball side so much, but they really started doing a much bigger push on college wrestling. And it's great news for us because we have always looked at the wrestling battle right now is Oklahoma State versus the Big Ten. That's really what it is, and the Big Ten has a network. So they're just, like you said, there are so many things, so many pieces of it that you have to cobble together, and so all those things are kind of how we landed where we're at now.
You think it'll smooth out just because it's around, say, 2 years from now, they got some of the kinks worked out, plus you get the other members of the conference to join in. Now you got a whole conference going on instead of just 4 teams.
Yeah, I think so. Now I will say this: the other schools are on these calls that we have.
Okay.
Even the ones who aren't a part of the network yet, and I think it's important to ESPN, which is good, and they paid the rights for our games, and they have the chance to put them wherever they want. And it takes some cooperation on our part. It took some cooperation on the part of the Big 12 office. The Big 12 gave us a heads up a week in advance or a couple weeks in advance that the K-State game might wind up on ESPN Plus on Big 12 now. We were kind of like, that's interesting. But we felt like as a conference member, we were trying to help the league out. The big benefit was, we got to set our own start time.
Right.
Absolutely, single biggest benefit early on in the early stages of ESPN Plus and Big 12 now is that we set our start times. That's always a big issue in the spring. Some of our baseball games were winding up on the Fox Go app.
That is right,
or
yes.
something called Fox College Sports, and which is not readily available throughout Oklahoma. And so it was either be on those third-tier options, be part of those third-tier options, or schedule all of our home games around OU. Because Fox had a bigger deal with OU, and so we were looking at, if OU wants to play at 3 o'clock on a Saturday, I guess that means we got to play at noon or at 7 or whatever.
Right.
So we feel in a lot of ways paroled. We can now do whatever we want to do with our baseball and with the blossoming softball program, where we don't feel like we're having to just rearrange around the other school in the state because of our contract with Fox. So there's some big upside to it. There are some kinks for sure, but there's a big upside to it.
Before we leave this subject, perhaps the most, other than where do I get it and how do I get it, question asked, is the talent going to still be the same that we've seen in previous years on the ESPN Plus, soccer, baseball, wrestling?
Yeah, it should be. I mean, we don't have any. I mean, that's now our call. Not that it always wasn't. Unless we have somebody who just can't be objective.
Right.
Which I don't. Most of the people that we use, Tom, as you know, excuse me, whether it be Coach Holliday for baseball or Brendan Manzer for basketball, whatever, they do enough ESPN stuff nationally that's not really an issue. So I don't really anticipate any changes. We certainly haven't had any this fall, and we don't really have any planned for the winter.
It's going to be interesting to me to follow the development of this. And if you're in here 5 years from now, we're still talking about this. This is probably going to be just a kind of bump in the road, excuse me, that we had to go through to get to where we want to be. And these would be days we just forget probably.
Well, and that's how we're looking at it. It's like we knew there were going to be some speed bumps for sure. I really, because obviously working during the football game, I really did not get to see the production until yesterday morning. I had it on in the office.
Do you like it? Not like it?
I think there were some good things to it, but I understand. There was no halftime show. There was no scores across the bottom.
Gotcha.
No first first down line. So I understand people's complaints. The storm threw a kink into things.
Well, that could do it to anybody.
Yeah, and you also noticed when we came back from the storm that they were on kind of using a lockdown camera.
Yes.
Well, there's the Big 12, the NCAA, Oklahoma State. We all have this rule about lightning.
Right.
If it's within 8 miles, we don't play. Once it extends out past 8 miles, we're good to go again. ESPN's rule is 12 miles. So they could not get folks back on the cameras unless we continue to delay. We didn't want to keep delaying for the folks who were waiting around. It had been an hour and 15 minutes, kind of a tough call, but we went ahead and started playing. And they got back just as it was starting. But that was the reason for some things happening right around the lightning delay. We had the same thing happen at Waco a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Right before kickoff, we got delayed, and same thing we started. And I don't know that ESPN was back.
You learn something all the time. I didn't realize there was a disparity between 8 and 12. I didn't realize that.
I think they asked us to wait. I think they said all along they would just be in lockstep with us. And then when they realized we were going to go at 8, they kind of asked us to wait. And we had someone said, we've had people waiting. We're going to go ahead and start. And so it's a tough call. You're sympathetic for the people at home for sure.
Sure, yeah.
And also for the folks who weathered it out for an hour and 15 minutes underneath the stadium, not knowing what's going on, and so those delays are just. I don't remember delays when I was growing up.
And we
I don't remember hurricane games when I was growing up.
It wasn't very safe probably, but we did anyway. And you can't argue with the safety factor.
No.
Lots of other things going on in the athletic department, and we're going to kind of scatter shoot a little bit with Kevin when we come back.
Harrison Electric in downtown Stillwater can handle any commercial or residential job with expertise. But don't take my word for it. These are actual Google customer reviews for Harrison Electric. When they make an appointment, they show up on time. Very professional employees who respect the client. They clean up after themselves and did an awesome job. Talked us through the plans with us and came up with the most economical plan for us. Very easy to work with on changes that came up. Highly recommend. So there you have it. The public has spoken. Call Harrison Electric at 372-7171 and see what everyone is talking about.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
The Hideaway since 1957. The Hideaway is famous for a lot of things, including their off-the-charts fried mushrooms, incredible service, unbeatable lunch specials, and of course the one-of-a-kind pizza. Stillwater's pizza tradition begins and ends here, from the big country to the pizza of the gods. And even the sizes are famous, from the mini personal to the big kahuna. Like us on Facebook for unique offers, lunch or dinner, dine-in, pickup, or delivery. The Hideaway, 230 South Mount Block, or call 372-4777. More than a restaurant, it's a tradition.
Charlie's Discount Drug, where we know our customers by name. Oh, yeah. Charlie's Discount Drug.
Hard work, dedication, tradition, and proven results. That's Pioneer Football, and that's the law firm of Martin, Jean, and Jackson. That commitment to excellence has served the Pioneers for years, and it's done the same for Martin, Jean, and Jackson with over 100 years of combined experience in injury law. Martin, Jean, and Jackson has offices in Stillwater, Ponca City, Tulsa, and our new location in Oklahoma City. Our Stillwater office is conveniently located at 400 South Duck Street. Stop by our location or call us at 405-377-5000. Teams always strive to be their very best. That's the Pioneers, and that's Martin, Jean, and Jackson, attorneys at law.
Well, we're back with Kevin Klintworth, Senior Associate Athletic Director at Oklahoma State. We covered the ESPN Plus, hopefully, maybe to the best of our ability right now. Couple of things. Let's go right at it. Branding. When's the new logo going to take effect for everything?
It started in July, so we're not going to go in and repaper the house.
Okay.
But as we replace things, our brand has just been touched up just a little bit.
Yeah.
I've got the golf brand on today, I guess, but the OSU brand, the logo that we are using in the department and now campus wide, is the one that's at midfield for football. A little easier to reproduce, a little easier for just different media elements to use. So that's underway, starting July 1.
Will these, you got a perfect example, will they still be in vogue? You'll be able to use those?
Yeah, we have the primary logo, and we have some secondary marks,
Okay.
and we have some sports specifics. And it's funny you say that, Tom. We are just putting the wraps on a branding guide for our department use, which kind of documents all that. So those things aren't really going away. But you want to make clear that the brand is the primary logo.
And of course, I was going to wear mine with the shield, so to speak, and and is that going to be phased out as well?
It's just not a primary mark. Now it will still be on our uniforms for another season, I think, after this season.
Okay.
Because that mark originally came from Nike, and we're not due for a uniform refresh for another year or two.
Okay.
And so you'll still see it, but it's secondary to the brand.
Will the Boone patch, if you will that be part of your branding, or
that
at least
is
this year?
That's for this year, to commemorate what he meant to us and what he meant to the department and what he meant, honestly, probably to our membership in the Big 12.
Right.
Didn't feel like there wasn't too much that we could possibly do. I mean, we couldn't do enough probably for what he meant and what he did, and so that's integrated to all of our uniforms for this athletic year. But I don't anticipate that going forward next year.
All right, next obvious question, and you get pounded on it. Are we going to open the season, baseball, first? There will always be a first game at O'Brate, whenever it is.
Yeah.
But will the first game of the year be in Reynolds Stadium or in O'Brate?
If I were guessing, I would say that we would probably purposely open the season in LAP.
Okay.
That's not an announcement or a pronouncement or a decree. That's just as we continue going. We think the stadium will be finished, certainly entering the punch list phase by January.
Okay.
But we also want to make sure that the first game has the pomp and circumstance of a first game, and so maybe not February is the best time to do that.
Okay.
So these things are not finalized, Tom. These are just some of the internal discussions that we're having. But if I were guessing, I would say you're looking at early March, probably to mid-March. We will definitely be in the stadium, the new stadium. The pomp and circumstance regarding the shutdown of LEP, we kind of took care of that last year, so we won't have a lot of that.
But will there be a pomp and circumstance 2 this year? Or are we just going to play and that's it? See ya. We'll go.
Oh no. We will do that. Matter of fact, as you know, I left a meeting early to come down because you're so important to me.
Oh, see, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it was, a big chunk of it was baseball and what we're going to do at O'Brate Stadium and how we want to open it and how we want to price it. And the thing about the new stadium is it has price points really for everybody.
Okay.
You want to be in the outfield, bring your kids, run around, stretch your legs, we're going to have points for that. If you want decent seats, not great seats, but good seats, we've got that. You want to pay more high dollar behind home plate or be up in a club level or suite, we have that. So kind of really not unlike what we have at soccer. We now have those sort of different price point options at soccer. But our emphasis isn't really going to be on revenue this year. It's going to be about getting people in the facility. Reintroducing them to Cowboy baseball if they haven't been for a while. We've actually had pretty good attendance the last couple of years.
Yeah, really.
At LAP, but we have so many more bells and whistles for fans to enjoy, and it's sort of like, you don't know what you don't have until you have it.
Right.
I always go back to a line from Wall Street, and Charlie Sheen said, "I didn't know how broke I was till I started making a little money." I mean, it's sort of like that.
Yeah.
There are so many things that are in the pipe for what we will do at O'Brate Stadium, but. To answer your original question, I don't think it'll be opening day at O'Brate if I were guessing, but it won't be long after.
I want one more question there, and we've had some precedents set, if that's the right word. But we played basketball in Gallagher, Iowa before it was completely done. Had plywood and that kind of stuff going on. Obviously, soccer had played there; it wasn't completely done.
For sure. Yeah.
What percentage of done are we at O'Brate right now? And that's including everything, outside, inside, field.
Well, Chad Weiberg on the radio the other day said this, and it's a really good way of summing it up. Now that the sod is down, you feel like you're way more done than you did before, because now it looks like a baseball park.
Yeah, at least you can got something there. Yeah.
I think that we've made up some ground. Because of weather and some bad soil samples to start, we were behind. Almost right from the beginning.
Holder told me 75 days at one point.
I think at one point we were 90 days down.
Wow.
And I think we've made up a lot of ground lately. And we've had warm temperatures. So even though the delay meant we were delayed getting sod down, it's had a good time to grow more than maybe what we thought it could this late in the growing season. So I'd hate to give you, I haven't been over there in a while, and I hate to tell you officially what percentage. I just know we're making up ground fast, and I don't think we'll be deep into a season when we play.
What about the bricks and mortar thing? I mean, are there structural things that still need to be done in your
Well,
mind?
obviously we're done with cranes and all that stuff.
Right, you don't see
all the
them
steel's
anymore.
in place, and that's been gone for a while. I think we're getting close to the point of it all being interior work, but I don't know that. There's going to be a 600 spot parking lot outside of center field. I know that's kind of the laydown area still for construction, but I go by it every day, even though I don't really have to, just to kind of gauge on it. Now that we get an inch of rain every day, it's still it's hard to tell exactly. I haven't been in it in quite a while.
Rainy day songs on the jukebox Sunday night, as a matter of fact.
Okay, good to know.
Rain day.
Good tip.
And it's supposed to rain, so usually when I have that theme, it's 95 and sunny.
Yeah.
But, anything on the horizon in the athletic department? There's always something going on. They're always looking down the line at something that you might tease us with a little bit that we should look forward to, whether it's policy, whether it's a new facility, something here.
No, I mean, we've been so focused on wrapping up soccer, on the baseball situation. I mean, yeah, Coach Holder's been front and center about wanting to do something for wrestling.
Right.
We know we need an indoor track.
How far is the wrestling discussion going?
I don't know because, Coach Holder might be the most accomplished fundraiser in the history of college athletics. I mean, I've literally asked people not to defy them, but to tell me if there's somebody who's raised more money than him. And, with baseball, it was kind of like we were at ground zero. Oh, well,
here we go.
Big gift. We're ready to go. And so that's sort of this phase we're in right now for wrestling. I think he's, doing his own thing on that. And he's kind of on these big projects, he's sort of a self-contained unit when it comes to the funding for them. He, which is a great thing. I mean, it takes that off everybody else's plate because, Coach Holder's working on it. So I don't know of anything. Obviously, the next big thing we have, you're well aware of, we have the tennis national championships.
Yeah, that's big.
Matter of fact, we have the NCAA in today and tomorrow.
Really?
For a site visit. We'll be utilizing O'Brate Stadium for part of our hosting, whether it be for meetings or for sports medicine. We're deciding all that today, whether it be some sort of hospitality area. We're not sure, but the fact that it's right across the street and it will be finished by the time May rolls around. So I think those things are the biggest thing. And then this time next year, we will be a month away from hosting the cross-country national championship.
That's right, yes.
So we have a cross-country regional hosting role this year, which is part of your responsibilities when you host the NCAA championships. You have to host a regional the year before. So we have, I think that's probably the next big thing up for us is just hosting championships. Tennis, along with the national championships, we also had the Big 12 tournaments. So we could actually be here, depending on how high our teams are seated, for Big 12s, a regional, a super regional, and the nationals. So if you like tennis, there's going to be about 6 good weeks in a row in the spring of.
And if you work in those events, you'll get better each time.
And I'm sure it'll be 78 degrees and sunny every day in May.
Every day.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to close this out on a frivolous subject. And I had a couple of colleagues say, well, you won't ask him. Well, I'm going to ask Kevin.
Oh, great. That's great to hear.
We've been friends a long time. Policies on a university level, policies on in the athletic department, they're set in stone and they get revised from time to time. You may get a hint at where I'm going.
I wish I had.
Well, what about this new law that was this judge said, it's equal. Men could not have shirts, women could not have tops. Does that impact, do we have a decency thing? Do we have a policy? I mean, will that have to be revisited the first time somebody takes somebody to court and says, here's what the rule is, and you said I can't?
I don't know the answer to that. You probably need to have Brandon Meyer on here, our legal counsel, to talk about that. I really don't know. I do know there are some state laws that have caveats about behavior on a campus.
Okay. Well, yeah, I would hope.
Yeah. So, but I don't know the answer to that.
Somebody's going to test it somewhere down the line.
Yeah, probably.
Either an intending event or, I don't know. I don't want to.
I don't know, but I can't wait to see how Marty Sargent addresses it.
That's why I had you on first. because I wanted you to kind of clear the deck, and then when I had Marty here, I could say, Kevin said A, B, C, D, and E. Yeah, that will be
We've spent way more time on name, image, and likeness than we have
topless.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in the last 24 hours, 48 hours, because of everything that's going on legally.
But it's current events. I mean, it's something that, while it seems like it's way over here, somebody in the near future can deal with this somewhere along the line. But I assume you would adhere to university policy up here, and this is what we do.
Yeah, you know, I came here from Berkeley. So
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Let me preface this by saying we had Naked Guy on the Berkeley campus.
No.
He was a local legend. You know, you sometimes get those local. We had Whisper and Richard.
Yeah.
You know, here there was Naked Guy, and he had the run of the place. He could do whatever he wanted. He could show up in classes. He could, and they said we don't have the right to have him wear clothes.
Wow.
So, so whatever comes up, I'm sure I probably have seen.
Yes.
I mean, we had another guy who sold plots on the moon out front of the student union, and I mean, that was just a normal, you know, Tuesday afternoon at Cal. Yeah. So, but I don't know the answer to what kind of parameters there would be at our events this year. I can't believe we're having this conversation in a lot of ways. You
well,
know,
I
crazy.
can't believe I asked you, but
no, I mean, it's a society. It's a strange new world.
And this is from my colleagues who said I wouldn't ask you, but I said, great, Kevin knows everything. And
you know, I got to tell this quick story.
Yeah.
I was in San Francisco, it's been a few years ago, for a convention with some OSU folks. And we were, and I had lived, I mean, obviously had lived there.
Sure.
I'd been on the West Coast for 10 years, and nothing was going to shock
That's your
me.
backyard there.
Yeah, so we were in the city, as they call San Francisco, and walking down the sidewalk, and a gentleman comes, I would say he was 75, wearing nothing but tennis shoes.
Oh, geez.
Right down the sidewalk. And the person I was with from Oklahoma State was like, oh my gosh. The gentleman behind us, who was not the same gentleman, just says, welcome to the city, ma'am. I mean, it just... yeah.
You know, I forgot about the Berkeley thing. So nothing here in Oklahoma is going to surprise you. I mean,
probably not really.
I would think so. Hey, thanks for coming down. We covered a myriad of things. I'm not sure we solved anything, but hopefully we gave you a little bit of that ESPN Plus chatter. And speaking of solving things, this guy is coming back to the set. Casey is. He has a lot of questions, no answers. We're back after this.
Do you take multiple routine prescriptions for medical conditions such as high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, COPD, asthma, or arthritis? Are you tired of making multiple trips to the pharmacy each month to pick up refills of all your medications? Tiger Drug has a new, easy, convenient, and free synchronized refill program for you. We will work with your insurance so that your meds will all be available on your refill date so that there will be no waiting. Call one of our friendly staff members and ask how you can join the synchronized refill program at 405-372-7900 or stop by at 825 South Walnut. And be sure to ask about our vaccination program. Tiger Drug in Stillwater, where the customer comes first.
Freddie Paul's Steakhouse in Bryan invites you to experience this Stillwater staple. Established in 2001 and armed with the best steaks in town, daily lunch buffet, and catering available, there is something for even your pickiest of family members. Homemade with love, they combine family recipes, a professional chef, and a dedicated staff to bring you a fantastic dining experience. Looking for something new to do with the family? Come check out Sky Golf Driving Range and take a few swings while enjoying full food and drink service. Freddie Paul's Steakhouse, where they believe you should always enjoy the exceptional flavor of what you're eating.
To our neighbors and friends, as we step boldly into a time of growth, our promise is that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities. Thank you for being the reason we love what we do.
Where do you go for computer help? Gigabytes. Gigabyte staff are experts in virus removal, software updates, and faster running computers. Gigabytes also provides small business support and network support, including websites. And they do laptop screen replacements, and they do all kinds of cosmetic repairs as well. Whatever your computer needs, they are the ones that can provide you with the answers and solutions to get you up and running. Gigabytes, 918 South Main, open Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, or call 533-1715.
Life beyond the gravitational pull of the city requires a can-do attitude. It takes versatility to accomplish all that needs to be done, and enough power to never get in over your head. The Kubota L Series tractor pulls up its bootstraps, hooks up to its many attachments, and gets the job done right. That's why it's the #1 selling compact tractor in America.
Kent and Barbara Houck have been saying they're a one-stop shop for many years. In 1951, the Houck Agency began insuring Oklahomans and since has expanded to insure people in 11 states across the country. The Houck Agency can find the policy that fits your needs, from business health coverage, individual health, home, auto, and long-term health care policies. They have a staff that can take care of financial planning, including retirement and investing. And Barbara Houck has been a realtor for over 35 years, and her contacts helped her buy and sell homes and commercial properties across the state. One-stop shop, the Houck Agency, 801 South Main in Stillwater. Call statewide toll-free at 800-543-8588. The Houck Agency, when experience counts.
Welcome back, Casey Kendrick along with Tom Dorado. A lot of stuff there with Mr. Kevin Klintworth.
The old senior associate AD himself. We covered a bunch of things. Yeah, how about ending it with the topless thing? But you can be sure that in an event of any size, somebody's going to come in there and be the one that decides. The judge said, I can sit here and cheer with no top on.
I didn't hear the end of it. What did he say?
Well, he pretty much kind of kicked it to the legal aspect of it. But, you know, they have to address a lot of things in an administrative capacity. Things that maybe they anticipate long before they happen. I don't know if this is one of them, but you got to have an answer when something like that happens.
I've got an answer for you. Look,
well, I know what your policy is here.
If you want to go out there and you want to, exercise your freedoms, you want to go topless to watch a game, that's fine. Just don't do it at the stadium. Stay home and watch on the boob tube.
You know what? Are you going to be here all week or what?
Watch it on the boob tube.
Yeah. That's pretty good for you.
It's a good time for a break.
I wanted to take
good time for a break. Timeouts. Back after this.
Frontier Lanes is Stillwater's favorite family entertainment destination. Open 7 days a week, Ernie and the crew offer 16 lanes of bowling, but that's just where the fun begins. Knock down the pins to the sounds of your favorite tunes with our jukebox. The game room features pinball, pool, and exciting arcade games. And with a full snack bar, you can satisfy your thirst and get some of the best burgers and fries in town. Frontier Lanes near Airport Road at 3524 North Washington. Call 372-8584 and be sure to ask them about booking your child's next birthday party.
Charlie's Discount Drug, where we know our customers by name. Oh, yeah. Charlie's Discount Drug.
The McCafe is now featuring cold brew coffee and cold brew frappes. Face the day with a cold brew coffee from the McCafe with a rich cold brew coffee blended with ice for a creamy frozen drink that's colder than cold brew. Or refresh with a cold creamy frappe. We start with a cold brew coffee, blended ice, and topped with whipped cream and rich chocolate drizzle for a great anytime frozen treat. McDonald's in Stillwater, Perkins, Perry, and Cushing. I'm loving it.
If you haven't been to TS Fork at White Barn Estates lately, we have an exciting new concept to tell you about. It's called Thirsty Thursdays, and it includes 4 courses of the same high-quality food as our other nights, and some of the best mixed drinks you've ever had. Best of all, no reservations are required. And while you're there, relax with a drink on our covered patio and check out the gift shop with Made in Oklahoma products. Go to tsfork.com for more details and to check out our upcoming special menus.
It's back. Stillwater High School football returns to TV 31. Be sure to catch every home game as the Pioneers look to return to the championship game. Stillwater High School football is brought to you by our friends at Tiger Drug. Also by Freddie Paul's Steakhouse. By Bank First. Also by Formal Fantasy. The Houck Agency for all of your insurance and real estate needs. By McDonald's. By Martin, Jean, and Jackson. Also brought to you by Harrison Electric, Legacy Oil and Gas, by Wendell Stevens Shelter Insurance, by Gigabytes, and by Charlie's Discount Drug. Catch Stillwater High School football on TV 31 Fridays, also streaming on TV31.net. Replays convene Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Facebook as well. Catch it right here on TV 31. All right, so Tom, let's hit a couple other quick topics. First off, softball got a huge win over Wichita State in fall softball.
Sounds like they got the ingredients.
Got some
this
good
year.
stuff. There is no doubt about that. Obviously, fall ball means it's like exhibition, anything else, but it's fun and you kind of get an idea. The other thing is we've obviously soccer had their first loss, had a tie, and so they hit a little bit of part of the schedule where those kids are going to have to continue to grow up.
They got a big game Thursday
hang in
night.
there. Yeah.
Kansas coming in. Kansas is really good.
Kansas.
This will not be, despite the fact they're home, won't be an easy one.
Men's basketball and soccer. That's where they've been good on the women's side for sure. So that's coming up. So also, let's see, we got the Cowgirl basketball signs a heck of a recruit out of Muldrow, Oklahoma. Taylor, not signed, excuse me.
Yeah,
got a verbal.
Easy.
Yeah. Got a verbal commitment from Taylon Collins, former player Terry Collins. It's his daughter. He's the head basketball coach at Muldrow. And anyway, so it's a huge get, 4-star. What does it mean? We talk about it all the time. I don't know. I just know everybody else wanted her, and they got her.
That's
and
usually
that's
a good sign, right?
So,
yeah.
And then finally, we got Cowboys at Texas Tech this weekend, 11 o'clock. It's not on Dish. If you're thinking you're going to watch Fox Sports 1 on Dish, you're not.
Are we running a crawl across the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, it's not going to be there for sure. Hey, that's going to do it for us. We want to say thanks, though, to Kevin Klintworth, right?
Yes, appreciate him coming down, covering the myriad of things. He's from the administration end, and we'll have him back time to time. He's usually the guy with the answers.
And you want to watch the new 80s, listen to the new 80s show on the
No,
weekends.
that was last week.
No, but it's apparently it's the new dominant thing.
This week,
you're all 80s all the time.
I talked to Kevin this week. It's going to work out for the first time ever, maybe. Rainy day songs, that's the theme. And it's supposed to be raining. It's supposed to be raining Sunday.
There you go. So that's what is going to happen. Hey, that's going to do it for us. We want to say thanks to you for tuning in. Also appreciate getting a chance to listen in on Coach Gundy. So a lot of good stuff today. Hope you enjoyed that.
Go home, play Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong. That's for Tommy D. I'm Casey Kendrick. See you guys next time right here on Out of Bounds.